Ask why four lost Santas, and I say why not is what I say. If you're gonna go for it, might as well go big, right? And I love the piece Among the Night Visitors, and OPERAORLANDO has done Among the Night Visitors many times in the past, but it's kind of on the short side. Usually about...
Yeah, she's like a little guy.
She's a little guy.
Yeah.
A little guy that Menotti wrote about the three wise men. It's a great story, very sentimental, but only about 60 minutes long, and definitely more on the sacred side of Christmas.
Yes, it's very reverent.
And there are some other pieces out there that people have paired with Among the Night Visitors, like The Gift of the Magi or Poincietta, I think this Spanish opera that's out
wonderful.
there.
I forgot about that piece. Yes, you're right. It is a gorgeous piece.
So we looked at those, but we're a little on the silly side here.
Well, you want a little
OPERAORLANDO.
You want a little joy. It's Christmas.
And AMAHL is already very sentimental. Yeah,
and I think you can buoy that, right? Like when you originally pitched Santas to me, I was like, of course, like this holds a perfect container. For AMAHL and the Night Visitors, which is truly, it's one of my favorite pieces because it talks about, the rich and the poor coming together, right? For this really unified purpose of like what the Christmas miracle can be, right? And how these stories can encounter each other, right? How did the shepherds, right? When you look at a nativity scene, which your mom collects nativity scenes, right?
She does. There's so many of them.
Do we have the same mother?
I think we might.
Yes, right.
My family only had one nativity scene, but I
One is
insisted.
enough.
Yeah, it was all we needed, really. But I was the kid who insisted on setting it up.
Yeah. I love doing that.
Oh my gosh, it was my favorite. It was
especially the three wise men.
You had to.
They were the most ornate. Yeah.
Even though they weren't even there.
Well, they came later.
They came later.
Yeah.
Look, after you've had a baby, I think you need to stay still for a few days.
It all melts together.
I've never had the privilege of doing it, but everyone I know is like, oof, that was a lot of work. Especially the Christ child,
No pressure.
Yes, it's a lot of work in a manger. But you kind of, when you're playing with the nativity set, and I say play because like that's what you're really doing when you're setting it up.
They're like
when you're
action
a little
figures
kid.
at that age.
I was like, oh, okay, the shepherds are here and the kings are here, and AMAHL answers that question, and I think
it does.
It answers. It really answers like that question of how did they all get there, and then. When you proposed Santas, I was like, oh, this is a very joyful way of looking at a modern mirror of AMAHL and the Night Visitors.
Right.
It gave us this like, well, what do we look like with kings today, like of Christmas? Who's the king of Christmas? Well, it's Santa.
It's Santa.
Yeah. There's four of them. And who's our little shepherd boy? It's the little boy who has a Christmas wish that he's not able to tell us.
From all those Lifetime movies that we saw growing up.
Exactly. And so we suddenly now have this kind of, we're holding the container of AMAHL and the Night Visitors in this really beautiful way of like this very silly, like who doesn't want four Santa Clauses singing barbershop quartet?
Well, and that's a good point, right? The pragmatic side of it, the logistics. You have three wise men and a page in AMAHL and the Night Visitors that are the same voice types as a barbershop quartet.
Yeah.
And that really was the first idea, right? That was a very dangerous idea. It's like, oh, a barbershop quartet of Santa Clauses, and then it's
opera barbershop quartet.
even better. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. And of course, one of my inspiration points, which I think you guys latched onto, was Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, who doesn't love the feeling of behind the scenes community theater?
Just like kind of the goofiness and the, right? Because to make a piece of theater, I was just saying this with a collaborator friend of mine this morning, where anytime you get a show up, it's a miracle, right? Like every time an opera happens.
And that's kind of true at every level, not just community theater.
No, it doesn't. Like
Let's be honest, right?
You can be at the Florida Grand, you can be in Tulsa,
Metropolitan
Oklahoma.
Opera, they just had a cancellation, had to find another tenor last minute.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's always a miracle.
All levels.
I mean, I don't know how many times you look at a room and there's 80 people, right? You have your chorus, you have your orchestra, you have your writers, you have your stage management team, you have your crew, right? And then you have your audience. You have to get all of those humans together to make a thing that all goes together in music. The fact that we pull that off at all is a miracle of itself. And then you pull it off well. You're like, ooh, okay. What do you mean I got to do it again?
So it was fun to kind of poke fun at that and not take ourselves too seriously.
Taking yourself too seriously is a good way to have a bad time.
Exactly.
I think I said when I was chatting with Maestro and the chorus master, and they were like, what are your thoughts on the score? And I said, well, if you're not having a good time with the cast, then you're doing it wrong. Like that.
Exactly.
If we're not having a good time and the audience isn't having a good time, then we've done it wrong. Like this is supposed to be a fun, joyful piece, and I think we've accomplished that.
Oh, absolutely! I can't wait for them to hear it.
Well, what's that critique that so much new opera gets? Oh, I just really wanted to be able to hum along.
Yeah.
Well, that's the genius of it. You took tunes that people already hum all season long. And that's the backbone of the score. Talk about that.
Yeah. So when I first got the opera pitched to me, I at first I was kind of like, okay, well, how do I not just make it like a jukebox opera, where it's just like, well, here's the carol, here's the carol, here's the carol, which there are numbers. We do sing Deck the Halls, we do sing We Three Kings. There are moments where we have
gotta have the sing along.
You gotta have the
sing along.
Yeah. Spoilers come. But one of the things I wanted to sort of do is like, okay, how do I take all of these different carols that everyone knows and sort of use them like as leitmotifs and use them as sort of like the texture throughout. So I sort of took inspiration from Stravinsky's Pulcinella, where he, his ballet opera, where he took all these different Italian art songs and just sort of tooled with them, right? And so the entire score is just all of these tunes. But I think the benefit of this show is that they're all tunes that people know, right? That everybody knows these tunes.
Absolutely. And
so basically, I think one of the first things we did after we wrote the libretto is I wrote out a list of 18 or 20 or something carols. And I'm like, these are all public domain stuff. We can just, use these without copyright problems. And those became the leitmotifs throughout the show. And so then it was as I then went through the whole script, and I just started writing, I think this carol goes here, I think this carol goes here. And I started noticing certain characters are getting associated with each carol, right? I started noticing that Judy is Here We Come a Wassailing. I started noticing Rudy is Jolly Old St. Nicholas. I started noticing that Gary was Good King Wenceslas.
How Menotti of you.
Yeah.
Menotti's always known for giving motifs to characters, and you were like, and I'll do that with Christmas.
Another great parallel, how the pieces are connected.
Yeah, no, exactly. Which it's very funny because I think I was chatting with somebody and they were like, how did you study the score? And I said, absolutely, I did not. I did not.
Funny.
I did not pick up Menotti's score because I wanted it to be different.
Right.
I wanted it to be a very different score.
And we all did.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so I think I think we've said, it's just a very fun, joyful score, and it's meant to be fun and silly and a little more on the commercial, shall we say, side, as opposed to the sort of very sentimental piece that is AMAHL, which I love AMAHL.
But AMAHL was a commercial piece at one point.
Yeah, it was.
The first opera written for television.
Exactly.
Very commercial.
Oh, opera, right? But opera is still of
popular.
the people, right?
Yeah.
Opera is someone the other day was like, oh, I don't know if Donizetti would have liked this. And I was like, Donizetti's just mad that he's too dead to get paid for this.
Yeah.
Old Gaetano, he's just happy his work's being done.
Exactly.
But here's a fun tangent for you. You brought up Pulcinella. We actually produced Pulcinella. Paired with Pagliacci.
Oh,
and it was that same, show within a show concept. So when it got to the Commedia dell'arte scene, they do Pulcinella, and then it all breaks into havoc, and Canio goes crazy and kills everybody.
Just details.
That's fun.
But that's the other element of this that I really loved, was the show within the show element, right?
What do I keep muttering in rehearsal? We're just doing Hamlet, guys.
The fact that they all load up into a car, they go to the theater, and they are exactly what the stage manager of the theater needs to put on the show. And so the works really are seamless, no intermission.
Yeah.
Right? And then it makes it a more robust evening of theater. So it's not just a 60-minute AMAHL and the Night Visitors, but it's really about 90 minutes.
Well, and it's a joyful evening of theater. You're coming to have fun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're having fun, and you're going to take a moment in the middle, and you're going to remember the true meaning of Christmas and what it is to live within community and family and to love and to take a risk and to be free. You're still going to have a good time, because then you're going to remember what it is to have fun within that.
And you're going to sing along.
You are going to sing. You better sing.
And it's not that Four Lost Santas is completely slapstick.
Oh,
I think
no,
it was very
absolutely.
brilliant in the way you all wrote it as co-librettist, that there is a moment of sentimentality and genuineness, especially with the character of the mother.
Yes.
You know, tell us about the mother character, Judy.
Look, I don't know. We don't deserve moms. Like, I just don't know how they do it. You know, and going back to AMAHL, right? It opens with a very tired single mom trying to raise her child in a hard situation. And, you know, I know you didn't look at the score of AMAHL, but I spent a lot of time on that story because that's the thing that sings to me about that show, and that's the thing that
pulls
sings
at your
to me about
heartstrings.
AMAHL.
Yeah.
It's moms. It's you know,
something we all relate to. We know.
Being a mom is so hard, right? Your heart is living outside of your body. You're raising this human, and this human is trying to become an adult, right? And that's Santa's really does become a love letter to moms everywhere. You know, I'm at the age right now where I'm watching my friends that I used to party with and run the streets with, and you know,
Moms still party for the
moms
record.
still,
For the
and
record,
they
for the
should,
record.
as is their right. But you know, used to get in all sorts of trouble, and I'm watching them just give unconditional love to a screaming 4-year-old on the ground, right? And all I can do is go do the dishes. Like,
Well, and I think one of the things I wanted to sort of make sure is that we had a couple of sort of like proper arias in the show.
Yeah.
And I think it became very apparent that it was going to be Judy and Rudy who were going to get some like proper arias. And Judy's aria is more like an arietta, but I think it's one of the it's one of my favorite musical moments in the show. Is the Rudy, the Please Don't Run in the Road, especially at night, which is all just playing with the theme of Here We Come a-Wassailing, but it's just this really beautiful moment where she's so vulnerable, right?
yeah, she's worried about her kid.
She's worried about her child. And then you also get
He's
this...
lucky she didn't grab him by the back of the neck. Ran out in traffic.
But then you also have Rudy's aria.
That too.
But then you also have Rudy's aria, which is which we call 20 Questions, which is a tongue-in-cheek joke in the score, because it's that thing of the kid who like won't stop asking a million questions.
And very similar to AMAHL.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
what's the joke in them all of like, you leave these men alone, and immediately he's like, "What you doing? What's going on over there?
Right.
What's happening? What's happening?"
Right, yeah.
Which every kid does that.
Every
right?
kid does.
Well,
Every
it's,
kid does.
You know, I remember growing up, we were always told to have the faith of a child, and what they meant by that was ask a million questions, right? And because that's what a kid does. Is
Right,
you ask,
right.
So you ask 20 questions.
Why?
The minute,
Why?
what's,
Why?
is it, why? I don't know.
Yeah.
And of course, you have the meet cute
Yes.
between one of the, we won't give it away, one of the Santas
Should
and
be pretty
Judy.
clear.
It should be pretty
quick.
clear.
Give it
yeah.
the first 5 minutes. If I did my job correctly. Well, why not have a little love? Moms deserve
Have a
love.
little romance around the
Yes.
Christmas season.
She's tired.
Yeah.
No,
Let her blush a little.
No, yeah, and I think that was one of the sort of, because you gave us a very sort of rough concept, but I think one of the things that you were like, there has to be a romance somewhere, like
Yeah.
It's the Hallmark Christmas movie.
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, who doesn't love those movies?
It's the hot snowman movie. Have we heard about this on Netflix?
Yes. I mean,
Maybe. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know a lot of people who that Hallmark Channel goes on the day after Thanksgiving, and it's Christmas
At
movies.
my mom's house, it's on 24/7.
It does- at
365. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Let her
But
have
there
it.
is something. I think it's just so funny that like that has just become our Christmas tradition. Like we just want to see a rom-com
Yeah.
To
during
see someone fall in love.
Exactly.
That's the Christmas miracle. I mean, part of it is love.
Absolutely,
Exactly,
absolutely.
exactly.
Well, we just
And-
saw the musical Elf, which is absolutely. I was like, did we just write Elf?
Well, there you go. No, it's
No,
not
we
exactly
did
the
not write
same.
Yeah.
And then
But it's
the other
sparkle
yeah.
and the love and the joy and have a candy cane.
Then the other Christmas miracle is doing a good deed
Yes.
to those who are in need, right?
Yes.
What's the line? You guys wrote it.
Well, the most important rule or creed is to help those in need.
Yeah.
Be the Christmas
miracle.
miracle.
Yeah.
It's so catchy. It's
It
so
is.
catchy. Well, it sounds like this was a blast to
Oh,
put
yeah.
together. Were there any, road bumps any stumbles along the way?
I mean, like any score, right? You write out your plot, and then you put your music into it, and you're like, wait a minute, we've done this 3 times, we have to go back, right? And and then you write it out again, and you're like, wait a minute, we've only done this twice, and you go back, right? I mean, but that's it's new pieces aren't written, they're rewritten.
Yeah.
Right? But one of the things I really love about collaborating with Spicer is he lets me create a plot and make a story, and then we shred it together, and then I kind of ship it off. And then, rewrites happen and I come back and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And then I ship it back off. And really, I'm very labor heavy in the first third, but the next 2/3, that's really you driving the ship and me hanging out in the back with a fishing pole.
Well, I think one of the things that I think it's important, collaborators are so important in a writing process, and that to me is sort of both like the hardest and also the easiest part, because like they point out like, hey, this isn't going to work, or like we need to reconsider this or whatever, but then it also makes it easier for you because then you have like another brain or 2 or 3 or 4 more other brains.
Right.
Like,
what about this, or how about this, or
and I've been talking with Maestro Kyle and Nathan, our rehearsal pianist. And it was so funny because Nathan played for the workshop, and he was like, I love seeing all the changes that were made. He's tracking it. He's tracking. He's like, oh, I love that. He's like, you did this differently, and you did this differently, and like that's so fun, and I wouldn't have thought of that. But like that's theater. It's just rewriting. It's
all about collaboration, true collaboration.
Exactly. And one of the things I really am grateful for is we've been collaborating since grad school.
Yes.
That's where we met. We wrote an alligator musical together.
Of course you did.
Of course we did. Well, separately we write like very complicated, esoteric things, and then we get together and it just gets silly.
We just
get silly.
We
I don't
like
know
a
what
silly
it is
opera.
about our combination. We're like, we love a little silly. But we have that shared language, right?
Yeah, that goes miles.
Yes, at this point, we have shorthand with each other. We have emails.
Yeah,
we
trust.
have that makes sense.
Sometimes in rehearsal, like Rose will be like, and in this part, and people will be like, where? And I'm like, measure 25. Like,
Spicer deeply.
How are you in my head?
Yeah.
You're in my
And
mind.
that's where I want him. I think in shape.
Well, and how cool for you to say that another company is already picking up this opera. I mean,
right?
So
you
many
had a
times
good idea here, because here we go. I think this thing is gonna
me? No, we.
Look, a clock. A broken clock is correct twice a day.
That's right.
That's what I say about myself all the time.
But it's always the hardest to get that second performance of any new opera. So
and it was
exciting.
Yeah, no, it was very sort of out of the blue, because I have
at Sacramento Light Opera.
Sacramento,
shout out to Sacramento Light Opera.
Yeah, shout out to them.
We just got some cute promo shots from them today.
Oh, that's right. I saw them. They were so
cool.
funny.
So they're already in rehearsal.
They're already in rehearsal.
Yeah,
How cool is that?
Yeah.
We have the premiere. They open up after us.
Yeah. Well, that's something for the audience to know. Like, they come be a part of history.
Exactly.
Because I think
how many times can you say you were at a world premiere?
Exactly.
Right? Not that often.
It's not, because making a new opera is a miracle.
A Christmas.
Christmas miracle.
All right, so last thing to wrap us up here. What is your favorite part of For Las Santas? What do you want them to listen for?
Oh, I think to me it's a tie. I love SantaCon, so we wrote an entire number.
We forgot about SantaCon.
We forgot about SantaCon.
We didn't mention
there's a whole,
which was not my idea. That was all you guys, and it was brilliant. Rose
I always say, Rose, you can have 3 ideas that are silly that you get to keep in the show. And the first one was like, I want SantaCon in this opera.
So Rose.
I did.
Look at you.
I raccooned that one. Like, it's mine.
And so there's a whole number about SantaCon, which is it's one of my favorite numbers in the show, because it is just the most.
It's so silly.
It builds and it builds, and I won't spoil how it builds, but it has a fun little twist at the end. And then there's our number of Here We Come a Wassailing, which is just this really fun sort of, starts with the quartet of the Santas and then grows into this fun whole rollicking number. So those are my 2 favorite moments in the show.
Yeah.
I like Deck the Halls.
the quartet version.
I like it when
the barbershop version.
Yes, I like it when the Santas.
It's really tight, actually.
Are super busted by a kid and gotta step up their game. I do. I like it when they show off
that is a
for
cool
that
moment.
little boy.
That
Like
is a cool
I do. They're
moment.
like, here you go, kid.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah, yeah.
that is cool, thanks. Like
And right before that is one of my favorite moments. I don't know if it's my all-time favorite, but the Code Gingerbread.
Yes, yes.
Like, oh, a kid's here. Code Gingerbread.
I love the idea
Those
of
little
Code Gingerbread.
subtleties,
Yeah.
absolutely, right?
Also, all the exclamations are Christmas references.
Yeah.
Right. Jingle all the way, figgy pudding.
Figgy pudding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a movie out right now, like Christmas Pageant, that's in the theaters.
Okay.
You guys heard about this? Like
No, I feel like I haven't done
No.
sufficient
And somebody-
dramaturgical research.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's like about a Christmas pageant that goes wrong in all the
Perfect.
all the worst
Yes.
ways.
Perfect. Yes.
So go see that, and then come see For Los Santos,
Which is
kind of a good parallel.
There's a fun, once again, I won't spoil it, there's a fun Nutcracker reference in the show with our chorus preparing for their opening night in the show within the show.
Yeah.
That is very much that.
That's actually my favorite part, when they get to the
When they get to
venue,
the venue,
Yes.
whatever it is, theater or church, and everything is just a mess, because I can relate to this.
Yes!
Oh, I think we've all, it's written from, there's a few moments in this show, I think Mistletoe Mess and It's Opening Night. Those two pieces are written deeply from the heart.
Yes, from experience.
Yes, like trauma-informed writing there.
The lyrics for Mistletoe Mess were some of the easiest lyrics I have ever write.
It just poured out of you.
Poured out of me, talking about being a sad artist.
Yeah, I think that's how Opening Night got written, was
Yeah.
just me being like, where's the sheep?
So the sheep steal the show.
The sheep are,
The
you know,
sheep,
They're not very sheepish.
the sheep need their own bio in the program. The sheep need their own bio.
We'll work on that. Well, we can't wait to see you all at For Los Santas, among the night visitors. This was our time together, the co-conspirators, not creators, just co-conspirators. We want to thank Rose Freeman, Spicer Carr for joining us, and as always, see you at the opera.